Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of my Let's Discuss series. Today, as chosen by you guys, I will be talking about Lowe's, both as a company and their stock. Lowe's is a company I'm very fond of. In fact, I spent a summer working for them, so I have a pretty good history with them and know a little bit about their business. Lowe's, for anyone who watches my M1 Journey videos, will know that they're one of my largest holdings in my long-term portfolio. They're a company that I think has a strong future as well as a strong track record of sustaining growth and different things. But I'll kind of share my thoughts as we get into it a little deeper. This is the last video of 2020. Today is New Year's Eve, so Happy New Year's to all of you. 2020 was a roller coaster of a year. Not too many positives, but I mean definitely some along the way. Starting this channel was one of those, and I'm glad that I did it, and I look forward to doing more in the future and learning with all of you. But I'm really hoping 2021 will be a big year for everybody. I'm very optimistic about where things are headed. So if you haven't already, actually check out my M1 Journey video from Monday where I talked about my investment goals for next year. Hopefully I'll meet those and everybody else meets their goals as well. So here's to hoping 2021 will be a big year for everybody and everybody has a little bit more peace and prosperity in the coming years. So without further ado, let's discuss Lowe's. So Lowe's is a company that I know a pretty good amount about as a former employee. Lowe's is a good company, very solid, has a good business model. It's a stock that I think has actually seen a boost because of the pandemic and the circumstances surrounding them. With everyone being home more, that's kind of put more of a emphasis or thought process towards doing DIY projects at home, since with quarantine everyone was had more time on their hands, so you saw some expenditures towards home improvement and other things that Lowe specializes in. With that being said, I think, which I'll cover more in the pros and cons, but Lowe's is a company that I think became a lot more attractive during this year. For that reason, I think some of the growth you've seen from them is sustainable, maybe not to the level that we have seen, but I'm very optimistic about their future. So a little bit about their stock. They do pay a dividend, although it is small at 1.5%. They have an annual per share payout of around $2.40. So for every share you own, you will get that over the course of a single year. Their payout ratio is small. It's a little under 28%, but that is an encouraging number that shows that over the coming years they can continue to grow that dividend from a small yield to a steadily larger yield, and that their dividend is very sustainable, and that Lowe's has a real emphasis on putting a lot of their retained earnings and income back into the business to grow the business and to solidify the company as a whole. So those are some positive factors I found going through some of their numbers. Over the last 6 months, like I said, their stock has seen a boost of about 19%, but over the last year they're up about 34% from where they were at the end of 2019. Over the last 5 years they've been really growing very steadily. 5-year returns are looking at about 110% at current prices. But if you invested in them 10 years ago, you would be doing very well, and you'd be up around 540%. So they have beat the market pretty steadily over the last decade or so, and as of today they are currently trading at around $160 a share. So if you were in 2010, Lowe's could have been a really huge investment for you, and I'm hopeful that many of you took advantage of that. So as far as some of the pros and cons of Lowe's, I think there are many pros to owning Lowe's stock. First of all, being a dividend king at over 57 consecutive years of both paying and growing a dividend, I think is a really remarkable accomplishment. If you remember, this is one of the main pros I also had when I discussed 3M. I think any company who is able to do this shows really good money management and being able to weather any kind of economic turbulence, as well as business issues, that things that just arise over time that's going to happen to any company. I think that's a really big accomplishment, and I definitely would have to list that as the biggest pro. Another pro that I would have to give to Lowe's is they have strong corporate leadership. Marvin Ellison, their CEO, I believe has done a really good job. He has a particular focus on cutting any unnecessary expenditures and really managing their debt load, which is critical for any business to be able to sustain their growing revenue as well as their growing business. As a business grows, they're going to take on a little bit more debt here and there, but he's done a really good job in his short tenure as CEO in managing that, and I think that's a definite pro for them. And then the last thing is one that would have been a little bit stronger pre-pandemic, but I'm optimistic in its ability to turn around, and that is a strong housing market. Obviously, a strong housing market is going to be beneficial for Lowe's and the industry as a whole, as more houses are being built or older houses are being renovated to be prepared to be sold. Is going to be a huge boost for Lowe's and their books. So I think COVID definitely will have hurt the housing market in different ways, but ultimately, like the rest of the economy that we've seen so far, will hopefully rebound and come out strong like it was before. But a couple of cons that I'd have to find for Lowe's, the first being their low yield. If you're a dividend investor such as myself, Lowe's may not be as appealing to you on the merit of that low yield. 1.5% or so is not anything to write home about. So if you're more of a growth investor, that probably won't matter as much to you, but it is something to take into consideration. The other thing that I think is definitely a bigger deal is a potential retreat of some of their revenue numbers in a post-COVID world. As I mentioned previously, Lowe's saw a pretty significant boost from everybody being at home and in quarantine and then not having as much to do. So I saw it as an opportunity to fix up the house or fix up different things. As more and more people are going back to work or not spending as much time at home, we could see not as much time or money being dedicated to those projects. So with all of those pros and cons in mind, I would actually have to say Lowe's fair value is at its current prices. Really, and it's a range of $155 to about $170. Lowe's is, and any consumer discretionary really, is hard to price since they're more cyclical in nature, and it's often hard to predict when the next downturn will be for those industries. But with the way the economy's rebounding for the most part, I think we could be seeing another rise for Lowe's. But if the economy does not come back as strong as possible, or as it appears to be at least, then we could see a little bit of retreat in share prices, and really for the market as a whole. So with that being said, I think Lowe's is a definite hold at the current market conditions. And that's nothing against Lowe's or anything within the business. I think it's just a wait and see approach, just to see how things shake out as the vaccine continues to roll out and we move into a new presidential administration, just to see how things kind of play out. I would give it at least a quarter, first quarter of 2021, to kind of evaluate jumping in on Lowe's. If you're like myself and already have a pretty strong holding in Lowe's, I would definitely hold it. I am not in any way, shape, or form advocating for a sale of Lowe's. It's just a hold at this point. And if you are very interested in buying, I would not discourage you from doing so. It would just be a personal preference for me to continue to hold where I am with Lowe's at this current point. So if in another 2, 3, or 4 months things have kind of held steady for the most part, then I think we could reevaluate this into maybe a potential buying situation. But it's a wait and see approach. So those are kind of my thoughts on Lowe's and their stock. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an expert. Please do your own due diligence and research before making any money decisions. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoy my content, I hope you subscribe. It really means the world to me. And once again, Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you for your support in 2020 in starting the channel. So I hope to see you guys in 2021. Continue watching my videos, and I will catch you guys out on Monday.